What's going on, guys? Thanks for tuning in to the next episode of the Three Peaks Fitness Podcast. I'm Coach Mark.
I'm Coach Lynette.
Today we're going to talk about sugar, everyone's favorite
sugar.
ingredient.
Yummy, yummy sugar.
Yeah. So, Lynette, I'll let you get right into it. You found a bunch of good stuff.
I am
on
very
sugar.
passionate
Is it good?
about
Is it bad?
this subject.
Let me know.
I am very passionate about sugar. So is sugar good or bad? Okay. So I'm going to answer that question with a question. Is water good or bad?
Yes.
Okay. Before we went live, he said water is good, right? Everyone has labeled water as good because you need it, right? Your body obviously needs it. But if you don't have enough water, obviously you suffer. If you have too much water, a lot of bad things can happen. You can get overhydrated. You could even drown. So we can all agree that dosage has a lot to do with whether water is bad or good. It's no different than sugar. So a little bit of sugar, you actually need it. Mm-hmm. Too much sugar, it's going to cause all kinds of problems.
So don't drown in sugar.
Don't drown in sugar,
okay,
right?
gotcha.
So, I mean, that's a very simplified version of a lot of research. But I want people to change the way they think about sugar, because when we label sugar bad, it actually increases in appeal, and it sort of becomes the forbidden fruit. We want it more. It becomes more alluring. So I want you to look at it the same way you would water. So I don't want too much, right? So just take that allure away, the mystique.
Yeah.
Okay.
Nice.
So sugar, it's basically a simple carbohydrate. Everybody knows that. You've got complex carbohydrates, simple carbohydrates. So because it's simple, it hits your brain really fast. You get a nice little hit off of it, and it burns off really fast. So that's why people enjoy it.
Yeah.
Gives you quick energy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Very, very nice. So whenever you see energy bars, anything that's labeled energy, that's code for sugar or carbohydrates, some form of carbohydrates. So just a little tip there. So some of the myths around sugar is that it causes obesity, it causes weight gain, it causes diabetes, causes heart disease. I know people are out there and going, what are you talking about? Of course it causes all those things. The association is not nearly as direct as we think it is. I know that's very popular to joke about sugar causing diabetes. That's probably the biggest myth out there is, oh, I'm going to eat 5 donuts and get diabetes tonight. But it's actually, the sugar does not directly cause the diabetes. What's going on is the sugar is easy to overeat, right? Because some people react to it a little more than others, but in general, sugar is very easy to overeat. Therefore, it's easy to overdo it on your energy consumption. So you take in more energy than you need, and then you end up storing it, and you end up storing that fat. And your body, think of your body storage of fat sort of like the capacity. Each person's body has a capacity to store fat. So think of it as a bathtub. And when you fill the water up to the edge of the bathtub, and then the water keeps flowing, it's going to go over the top of the tub. And then what happens when the water keeps flowing? It's going to end up in the heat vents, into the carpet. It starts going all over the house, seeping into all the different, electrical systems and outlets. That's what happens in your body when your capacity to store fat in the healthy places, we do need it, when it's reached capacity, it starts seeping into other areas of the body where the fat is not needed and can cause damage. That's around your heart, around your kidney, around your liver. That fat is actually active. People think fat doesn't do anything. It actually does. Fat releases hormones and interferes with your metabolism. So when you have fat on your liver, it's going to influence the sugar release in your body, and you start getting the the insulin resistance. And then, if that goes on long enough, you eventually get diabetes. So the sugar, the steps between the sugar and the diabetes, there's a whole lot more steps than people think.
Yeah.
So anything that you eat that causes too much fat storage is going to directly cause diabetes. So sugar gets blamed for it, but there's any food that you overeat is going to cause that. So, but sugar is the bad guy all the time.
Sugar
gets blamed.
So easy to point the finger at it.
So easy to point the finger at it. But yeah, it's just any anything you overeat. Pretzels can do it too. It's just any food that you overeat.
What about vegetables?
Okay, believe it or not, everything you eat has a little bit of sugar in it.
Yeah.
So if it were poison, some people call sugar poison. If sugar really were poison, then we're poisoning ourselves every time we eat vegetables. Right? So it's not poison. It's all dosage based.
I'm sure there's a diet out there that says that somewhere.
You know, I've heard it all out. Oh, sugar's poison, sugar's poison, sugar's. But when you eat it in a whole, minimally processed food, like when you're eating broccoli or potatoes or bananas or berries or whatever it is, that nature has already perfectly packaged it with enough fiber and enough vitamins to counteract the sugar, to balance it all out. It's already perfectly packaged. Mm-hmm. So when you're eating processed foods, then all of that balance has been taken out. They've stripped it all out, and all you have is the sugar. Mm. Then that's why sugar gets a bad name, because now you've left out the other things that's supposed to come with it.
Right.
So.
Right. Yeah, an apple isn't quite the same as ice cream.
Oh, man.
Unfortunately.
Oh, man.
Well, that's really interesting.
Yeah, totally.
So sugar's not as evil as we give it credit for.
It's all about the dosage.
Yeah.
It's all about the dosage. So you want to be, eat the whole, I would say, start eating whole minimally processed foods. Eat more of them. You don't have to swear off sugar right away. I realize that people are individuals and everyone's sensitive to things, but if you're eating a lot of crackers, bread, processed foods, fast food, the first step is not cut out the sugar. You're going too fast there. I would start by just eating less processed foods. Mm-hmm. Start with that, and start by eating slowly. If you can just do that for a while, just observe yourself, see what happens. Eat that first, and then if you still want the dessert, go ahead. And then when you get those two habits in place, you can start saying, all right, I'm going to start eating less processed foods, because you're going to find that you will start getting full on the apples and the whole processed foods, and because you're eating slowly, you're going to feel more satisfied with less food, and then you won't need as much of the processed food. Eventually you are going to have to make a deliberate effort to eat less processed food, but steps 1 and 2 make step 3 possible.
Yeah,
but it is a good thing to eat less of the processed foods, because then you'll be eating the sugar that you are getting is packaged the way it needs to be packaged.
Yeah. There's going to be more vitamins, minerals.
Yeah. And the food, your taste buds will change. Mm-hmm. So what you said about ice cream, give yourself 3 months eating this way. The ice cream will not taste the same. Mm-hmm. And the apples, vegetables will start to taste sweet. Everything will start to taste different when you're not eating as much of the processed stuff.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I believe it. Yeah. There was one time there's been a few times, but there'll be times where I will, where I won't eat breakfast. Like lunch will basically be my first meal.
Yeah.
And I'll eat, a little bit smaller portions, and I'll, just be kind of more focused on what I'm putting into my body.
Yeah.
And the first time I really did that, because I was always an athlete. I never had to worry about what I was eating. I would just shovel everything in my mouth. But the first time where I kind of focused on that was like right after I became a trainer. And I remember eating almonds one time and being like, whoa, I can taste the almond. It tastes like something.
Yeah.
And this was I don't remember, this was years and years and years ago, but this was, I don't know, after just a few days of, trying to avoid eating a lot of processed food and stuff like that. And it was like a light switch. I was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I didn't know almonds could taste so good, so that, like
That's
you were
amazing,
saying about the palate changing, it definitely does.
It definitely does change.
Adapts.
Yeah. And another pitch for reducing your processed foods, when you're eating too much sugar in the processed foods, I call it food crack. All right. There's a thing in your brain called the leptin feedback loop. I call it the food crack loop. Okay. So when you're eating something that's crunchy, creamy, salty, they usually team up, these companies will team sugar up with other things to make it more appealing.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think we were saying this before, I don't know if we were live yet, but if I were to tell somebody, sit here and eat 5 tablespoons of table sugar, like someone might say, yeah, I'll do it, but you get to that 3rd tablespoon, you kind of get tired of it.
Yeah.
Because you usually need the other things with it to
Right.
make it more, like think about a Snickers bar. It's not just sugar. It's crunchy peanuts, chewy caramel, chocolate. It's a lot of different things
Yeah.
combined. So you
Yeah.
usually got 2 or 3 sounds and smells happening at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
So this is what happens when you're eating this stuff, okay? It's called the leptin feedback food. So your leptin feedback loop. Okay, so your brain thinks it doesn't have enough leptin because it's always eating this processed food. So it says, hey, we need to increase our leptin, we need to get a larger leptin factory. And what tissues in your body make leptin? Fat. Your body fat is what makes leptin. So it says, the brain sends out to the body, hey, we're hungry, we need to eat more. So you eat more, and of course the regular portions are not satisfying enough, so you overeat until your brain is like, okay, now we've had enough. And then you gain more fat, and then your brain goes, ha, mission accomplished, this is great. And your brain will actually defend that weight gain, right, as long as you're doing that. And then you actually can cause brain damage with the processed foods, right? Now remember, this is not going to happen if you're eating sugar in natural fruit or produce. This happens in processed foods because that's the only way you can get that dosage of sugar.
Right.
But your brain is going to get inflamed, and you're going to get leptin resistance, and you're just going to get that constant loop of wanting to eat more and more. So anyway, that's my food crack cycle that I like to talk about, right? It's this terrible cycle that you can get into. So remember, step 1, eat more minimally processed food, right? More whole foods. Step 2, eat slowly without a screen in front of you. And then you can do step 3, reduce your processed foods. So sugar's not the bad guy. It's the whole processed foods, packaging.
Yeah, it's the whole thing.
Yeah,
Is what
definitely.
makes it
It's a
so
dosage
dangerous.
thing. Yes, think of sugar as water. If you can take that mystique away, then it won't have that temptation.
So 8 glasses a day. Is that
8 glasses of sugar a day. Yeah.
cool?
Awesome.
All right. Well, yeah, no, that was super helpful. We'll wrap this one up. I know it was a quick one.
Yeah.
But yeah, hopefully this was helpful, guys, and we will talk to you next time.
All right. Bye-bye.